Hey guys, what's up? It's Zyflin here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to get Loki in Warframe in 2019. Now, if you watched the previous episode of this series, you learned how to farm Equinox, and I promise that farming Loki is not as tedious as farming Equinox. You only have to get the regular chassis, neuroptics, and systems rather than having to get the, the night aspect and the day aspect, and then the parts for each of those aspects, and then having to wait 3 days for both of those to build, and then another 3 days for Equinox herself to build. Nothing as tedious as that. It's actually a lot easier this time around. And the thing is, we can actually use the exact same setup that we used in the last video to kill these bosses, the hyena pack, to get Loki. So it's pretty much going to be the exact same stuff. We've got Nova, and we have Intensify, Streamline, Flow, Vitality, Redirection, Continuity. Now, of course, as I said in the last video, you could have better builds at this stage in the game, but I'm just demonstrating that you can, in fact, do this with the, what I like to call the bare minimum, right? So the most important thing I would say is Energy Siphon for that constant energy regen, because having your abilities up at all times, or at least being able to use them, is super important whenever it comes to taking down at least this boss in particular, because you want to have him slowed, right? And you want to be using the damage from antimatter drop to just like one-shot him, okay? So moving on to our Heck build. Again, you can have a much better build. You can have Scattered Justice on here, Point Blank for damage, Hell's Chamber for multi-shot. You could have this upgraded, Charge Shell for electricity, Incendiary Coat for heat, which makes radiation, Contagious Spread for our toxin damage. So that's just going to give us bonus damage to these enemies because they have that alloy armor, and they're going to take bonus damage from this radiation stuff. Now, these guys do have a pretty hefty shield, and that's going to be the more difficult part about this fight, is getting that shield down. These guys are pretty damaging, so there is the chance for you to die, but you have Nova's first ability, which is going to give you damage reduction, which is pretty nice as well. So just make sure to have that up before the boss fight starts, and you should be good to go. You shouldn't get one-shot or anything like that, especially if you have put ranks into your Vitality and Redirection. Of course, I'm not expecting you to have these maxed, but Vitality and Redirection are two mods that you should be focusing on. Now, Redirection falls off a little bit later into the game whenever you start to make a full-on build, so you might not necessarily have this on or completely maxed out or whatever if you have got a better build than this. But if you do have a better build than this, then obviously your powers are going to be a lot stronger, meaning you don't necessarily need this redirection mod, because the enemies are either not going to be able to touch you or they're going to be dead within seconds, right? So that is basically that. So just having that radiation damage on your Heck, you could maybe throw on Scattered Justice to get more damage, and you could throw on something like Narrow-Minded or Feline Expertise onto this Nova build, so either your ability lasts longer with Narrow-Minded, or you can cast it more efficiently, meaning it takes less energy to cast with Feline Expertise. So choice is up to you, whether you want to jump in with this super minimalistic build and just get Loki as soon as possible, or if you want to farm up those corrupted mods from the Orc and Derelict Vaults and, be more prepared jumping into this fight. If it's a little bit difficult for you, I recommend that, right? But if not, then, just jump in with this type of build. And of course, if you watched the previous episode as well, we talked a little bit about energy restores, being able to put these down to get your energy back. So don't necessarily need Fleet Expertise if you have these medium energy restores. It's totally down to you. You have the option to play how you like here. So that is cool. But to get Loki, go up to the market, go to the top left hand corner and type in Loki. Click on his icon, go to this little credits icon here, press purchase blueprint, and then go down to your foundry, and you can view everything that you got to get Loki. Well, you could have did it in the market as well, but just to show you, we got our Loki chassis, Loki neuroptics, and Loki systems. So you can see that the chassis takes Morphix, Ribido, Ferrite. The neuroptics takes Alloy Plate, Neural Sensors, Polymer Bundle, and Ribido. And then the systems takes control modules, Morphix, Salvage, and Plastids. But the question is, how do we get the blueprints for the chassis, the neuroptics, and the systems? Well, we got to kill the boss on Uranus, Omegalol. Or no, not Uranus, Neptune. Uranus was the last video. I just thought I would throw on the Uranus joke. Neptune. Okay, Neptune. And then on this node, I think you pronounce this like Samph? Pasamph? It's on Neptune. So go to Neptune, go to this node right here, Samph, and this is the hyena pack. So if you're playing this solo, there's going to be 2 bosses. But if you're playing it with more players, I believe there's more. So I recommend soloing this. Bring Nova, and your main focus is going to be your 4th ability to slow them down, because they can jump on walls and they have really high damage AoE abilities whenever they spin around. They shoot out a lot of bullets and stuff like that. And then you also have your first ability, which is going to give you damage reduction, which is going to keep you alive, which is great. And your wormhole ability is going to let you just get to the boss a lot faster. And then you have your second ability, Antimatter Drop, which is going to let you one-shot them. So, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to jump in. We're going to use Wormhole to get to the boss as quickly as possible. Before the boss fight starts, we're going to use our first ability to give us our damage reduction. Whenever the boss fight starts, we're going to use our fourth ability to slow them down. And then whenever we're right up in the boss's face, we're going to use our Antimatter Drop. We're going to shoot it with our shotgun. And then the bosses are going to die. And then we're going to get to the end of the mission. And at the end of the mission, we are going to get our blueprint for either the chassis, neuroptics, or the systems. The neuroptics and the chassis both share a 32% chance to drop. And the systems has a 28% chance to drop. So the systems is the rarest out of the three. So, here's the boss. Hit your first ability. I'll let you watch this. Cool. He does a big old spin. Good dog. You want to jump up here. Use your 4 while over his head. Kind of run around a little bit. Use your second ability, making sure you don't die. Second ability. And then aim it at the ground. And they're dead. There you go. That's how you do it. So you're going to get knocked around a lot, and that's okay. And if you die, that's also okay. You can see the amount of health that they took off me. I had a maxed out vitality on there, and I'm down to 228 health, even with my damage reduction up. You can see it's totally gone now because that damage reduction is going to go away whenever you get close to enemies, which is big old feels bad, man. But we just one-shot at them. We're in, and now we are getting out again. Let's see what we get. What do we get? What do we get? What do we get? Chassis? Chassis. Called it. Cool. So, chassis, neuroptics, systems. Like I said, chassis 32%, neuroptics 32%, systems 28%. Systems is the rarest, and you want to keep on replaying this mission and doing that over again until you get, of course, all of the blueprints needed to craft Loki. And Loki is definitely one of those must-have frames. I'd recommend picking him up as soon as possible because he's going to make the likes of spy missions easier, and he's also one of the best crowd controlling frames in the game versus enemies that have guns such as the Grenier, right? Especially versus the Grenier because they have nothing to counter your abilities, right? So, and then versus the Corpus, if you just bring a fully automatic weapon or a beam weapon, Loki's insanely good with his radial disarm, just making the enemies have no weapons. It's great. So go to the Warframe tab again, type in Loki, and you want to craft your chassis, neuroptics, and your systems. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of that stuff. It's going to take 12 hours for each of these parts, but I'm going to go ahead and rush them using my premium currency platinum. Now, if you're a newer player, I do not recommend doing this. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes to show you what claiming a new Warframe is like. Go to your Loki thing up here, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to sacrifice the chassis, neuroptics, and systems and an Oracle cell to craft Loki, as well as 25,000 credits, and that's going to take 72 hours or 3 days. But because we have a lot of the premium currency up here, we're going to go ahead and rush it. I need to buy a Warframe slot, so it's going to take more of my premium currency up here. So we're going to buy that Warframe slot for 20 platinum. We're going to spend 50 platinum to rush it. And then there you go. We have a Loki Warframe down there in the bottom left-hand corner. Go to our arsenal. Go to equip. Type in Loki. And you can see that we have a level 0 Loki. Default colors and everything. Go to upgrade. You can see that we have a dash polarity, a D polarity, and a V polarity. The capacity matches our mastery rank. And we do not have any Oracle reactors or anything like that installed. Equipping an Oracle reactor is going to double your capacity. If you're master rank 5, your capacity is going to be 5, and if you have an Oracle reactor installed when you're master rank 5 and your capacity is at 5, then you're going to have 10 capacity instead of the 5. It just doubles it, right? So this is going to reflect your mastery rank until you start to level up the Warframe. So once my Warframe gets to level 27, that's whenever the capacity will increase from 26 to 27, if that makes any sense. Now, whenever it comes to farming up the resources for Loki, all you got to do is go to your navigation, and then you should have the option between Earth, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Phobos, Ceres, Jupiter, Saturn, Europa, Uranus, and then of course Neptune. So what you can do is you can choose any of these planets and then hover over this little drone in the bottom right hand corner, and it's going to show you which resources drop from that planet. So on Neptune here, we can get nanospores, ferrite, control modules, field run samples. On Uranus, we've got our polymer bundles, plastids, gallium, detonite, ampule. On Saturn, we've got our nanospores, plastids, Oracle cell, detonite, ampule. Jupiter, we've got our salvage, field run sample, neural sensors, alloy plate. Europa, we've got our Morphix, rubido, field run sample, control module. Ceres, we have our alloy plate, circuits, Oracle cells, detonite, ampule. And then Mars, we've got our Morphic Salvage Galleon Field Drawn Sample. Phobos, we've got Rubido Morphic Plastids Alloy Plates. Earth, we've got Ferrite, Rubido, and Neurodes Detonite Ampule. Venus, we've got Alloy Plates Polymer Bundle Circuits Field Drawn Sample. Mercury, Morphic Ferrite Polymer Bundle and Detonite Ampule. And then just for the sake of it, we've got the Void over here as well, which gives us Ferrite, Rubido, Argon Crystals, and Control Modules. Now, what I'd recommend for farming those resources is playing a defense mission, because in defense missions, a set amount of enemies spawn, and all you have to do is kill as many of those enemies as possible. Use a killing frame, like I would say Equinox, if you have her crafted. Equinox has got an AoE damage dealing ability, so if you put on Power Range and Power Strength, then you can definitely wipe waves within seconds. And if you have a buddy who plays Warframe and he has a Necros Warframe or a Hydroid Warframe, stuff like that, you can use them to use their loot to reroll an ability. So Necros has Desecrate, and then Hydroid has an augment for his Tentacles ability called Pilfering Swarm, which is going to make the enemies drop additional loot, which is awesome. So if you got a buddy who is nice enough to run that for you, go ahead and ask them if they will run that for you so you can farm out those resources more efficiently. And then that is basically it. That is how you farm Loki in Warframe. So if you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead, hit that like button below. If you learned something new, subscribe for more Warframe content. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.